The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Welcome back, Raider Nation. Today, we got Mock Draft Monday, and we're going to be analyzing every pick of Mel Kiper Jr.'s Mock Draft 3.0. So we're going to jump right into it. And number one, pretty obvious pick. We got Chicago Bears selecting Caleb Williams out of USC. I'm not going to get into too much detail with this. I mean, pretty consensus at this point. He's going to be the number one pick. So moving on to number two.
Number two, Jaden Daniels. Now, all signs are really pointing to Jaden Daniels going number two to the Commanders. It's going to be interesting to see if he really wants to go to the Commanders or not. I mean, rumors have been saying that he doesn't really want to go to Washington, and all signs point to him being the franchise guy in Washington. Clearly the second best quarterback in the draft. Some would even put him ahead of Caleb Williams, like me. I don't think Caleb Williams impressed me that much, but Jaden Daniels is definitely impressive Heisman winner.
Yeah, so with that, obviously number three is the New England Patriots, and they're going to take the next best quarterback off the board, which is Drake May, and that's what Mel Kiper thinks, and that's what we think as well. You know, Jaden Daniels, he's got that dual threat ability, so with him going number two, Drake May is more of a project than Jaden Daniels. He's not as pro-ready as some of the other quarterbacks, but he's got that high ceiling. People comparing him to Justin Herbert, so he offers you that high ceiling in a quarterback. So, he fits the New England fan base, their culture there. So, Drake May, number three to the New England Patriots.
Number four, okay. Mel Kiper got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Arizona. Kyler Murray finally getting his top receiver, not having to deal with a washed-up A.J. Green or something like that. Now DeAndre Hopkins is gone to Tennessee. And yeah, they finally get their number one guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., clearly one of the best receiver prospects we've seen in a really long time. So that'll be interesting how that works out in Arizona.
Yeah, so I think those four picks are pretty consensus right now. So number one, Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Marvin. I think that's pretty consensus set in stone as of now. So in my opinion, I think the draft really starts at number five. And right, it's obviously the San Diego Chargers are picking there, but Mel Kiper Jr. has the Vikings trading up and grabbing J.J. McCarthy, who we've mentioned this in the past, really fits their offense, their scheme with Kevin O'Connell and that, Kyle McVay system. But the interesting thing there is, I saw a rumor today, and it was saying that Jim Harbaugh, he wanted that Minnesota job a few years ago, and they didn't want him, and they rejected him as their head coach. So I think it was Mike Florio of NBC saying that he would be really hesitant to trade and give J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings because he has a personal vendetta against them and their organization. But, I've been seeing this trade a lot in a lot of mock drafts, and Mel Kiper has that as well. So, J.J. McCarthy has a connection to the Vikings. I've been hearing that quite a bit. So, yeah, J.J. McCarthy, number five to the Vikings.
Number six, Malik Neighbors to the New York Giants. This is interesting because now Marvin Harrison is gone at number four, and it's not really a bad consolidation prize. If you can't get Marvin Harrison Jr., you get Malik Neighbors. LSU guy did extremely well over with Jaden Daniels last season, and I don't know if he's going to thrive under Danny Dimes. I don't think any receiver really thrives under Danny Dimes, but the Giants will get a good receiver, and that's about it.
Yeah, and he's a great prospect. I have no doubts there. But I mean, Mel Kiper, I would say that why would you pick a receiver if you don't have a quarterback? That just sets up pretty bad for a franchise. He's going to be complaining that he can't get the ball. It's just not a good situation there. So I would think that they would go Joe Alt, but with Mel Kiper having them take Malik Neighbors out of LSU, I think that opens the door for the Titans to take Joe Alt, who is a generational left tackle prospect. He's got all the size. I think he's 6'8". So, mammoth left tackle. And the Titans need a left tackle as well. So that's a perfect, run to the podium pick for the Tennessee Titans and Rand Carthen. So yeah, Joe Alt to the Titans is a no-brainer
Right. Number 8, Falcons, Dallas Turner, outside linebacker, Alabama. Definitely a menace for the Crimson Tide over the course of his college career. Had some pretty outstanding standout plays in the Rose Bowl against Michigan. And I still think personally Alabama should have won that game in overtime, but nothing to do with that now. But logged about 10 sacks last year and it can get to quarterbacks and hopefully will help Atlanta bring down Derek Carr.
Yeah, we hope that on this channel. And I would say he's similar to Tyree Wilson too. He's got all the size and all that, but people are citing that okay, he's not producing as much as he should with the tools he has athletically. So I would comp him to Tyree Wilson. I'm sure a lot of other people are comping that as well. But number 9, Roma Dunze to the Chicago Bears. I think this is another no-brainer pick because you have Keenan Allen, you have DJ Moore, but Keenan Allen's getting up there in age, and the draft is always about replenishing new talent. And Roma Dunze, very similar style to Keenan Allen. So when Keenan Allen retires, or he's getting up there in age, so when he loses a step, you have a guy to replace him at that number one receiver position. And you give Caleb Williams, you want to give him as much talent as possible on the offensive side, and he's another weapon who's explosive. He was killing defenses with Michael Penix. So Roma Dunze to the Bears, I think is another no-brainer pick.
Yeah, number 10, Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia, to the New York Jets. Hey, more weapons for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is going to win the Super Bowl this year. Jets are going to win it all. Jets have everyone. Jets are a great team. Jets have offense. Jets have defense. Jets have everything you can imagine. Okay, well, enough with that charade. I honestly don't think this makes the Jets any better than they are right now. But he is a pretty good pass catcher, and he can block too. He's a blocking tight end as well. Aaron Rodgers just will have one more person to throw the ball to, in addition to Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. But we'll see how this works out overall. They don't really have a solid tight end. I think their tight end last year was CJ Uzama, who left and went somewhere else now. So they clearly have a hole there. If he falls to number 10, if the Chargers trade out of number 5, then him falling to number 10 is a clear possibility. And I think Kiper knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, they have a hole there, so that would make a lot of sense for the Jets. Number 11, like we mentioned, the Chargers are going to trade down, according to Mel Kiper, and he has them selecting J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. And I think that positionally, that's correct pick. They need a tackle. They have Rashawn Slater on one side, so they need a right tackle of the future. But I don't think J.C. Latham is the consensus pick here because, you have Olu Fashanu out of Penn State as well as Fuaga out of Oregon State, who are, consistently rated higher than this guy, Latham out of Alabama. But, according to Kiper, I think he's higher on Latham than most are. And so I think positionally this is the correct pick, but Latham, I don't see that happening. But I mean, JC Latham, the Chargers.
Yeah, I can definitely see it being something like Taliese Fuaga or Olu Fashanu over JC Latham. But Kuiper's an expert and a pro for a reason. So we'll see what happens there. Next, Denver drafting Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. Cornerback. This would be the highest Toledo player ever taken in the draft since, guess who? Denver took Dan Williams back in 1992-93, and he was a defensive end who did not amount to anything. He had 3 years and then was out of the league. So that's not historically worked for them really well. Quinyon Mitchell, really physical cornerback, and can definitely make plays happen for you. Can hopefully get up and get the ball, but we hate Denver. Moving on.
Yeah, and we're Raider channel, so we're both gonna get into number 13. But Kiper has us going Taliese Fuaga, offensive tackle out of Oregon State, who, he's a really good player. We're not gonna dispute that on this channel. He's a road grader in the run game, can consistently open holes for you. So, our running game struggled last year, so he would definitely help us on that side of our offensive game. But as Rashawn's gonna get into, we need a franchise quarterback, and taking Fuaga, you know, it's we don't want that because we want a quarterback.
I don't like it personally. I think Colton Miller's solid at left, and I think at right tackle we can find a hole. And I actually believe in Taylor Munford out of Ohio State. I think he's good. I think he could hold it down, especially this year. I don't think we need to draft a tackle this high. I mean, this is a big dude, like 6'6", 324 is a huge size, is a bigger end tackle. And, he he committed to Oregon and play Oregon State and played 4 years there, but nothing like really blows you away. I mean, he's ranked 3 stars prospect by almost all agencies, 24/7 Sports, ESPN. They all have him ranked as a 3 star, like in the mid 70s grade. So I don't know how Kiper has him going to us right here. But like you said, we need a quarterback. I mean, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are not going to get it done. I know you guys want to just ride Aiden O'Connell and think that he's going to take us. Like, do you think he's going to take us and win a Super Bowl? Like, that's the goal here. The goal here is not to just make the playoffs or win a playoff game. That might be, the roadmap. But the goal is to win a Super Bowl. And if you're making the playoffs with Aiden O'Connell, okay. But who's to say you're going to win 3 playoff games and beat the team in the Super Bowl? I mean, there's Aiden O'Connell's not that guy. I'm sorry. Like, you guys just have to face it. And you'll see this year. If Aiden O'Connell trots out as a starter week 1, you'll see. I mean, he's going to be better than he was last year, but that's like a 9-8, 10-7 max ceiling. And that's great. That's good. If you want to make the playoffs, if you're satisfied with making the playoffs, that's good. But we here at the Silver and Black Attack, we feel we need a guy who can be the franchise face and can win us a Super Bowl. And that's Michael Penix Jr. I believe that that's Michael Penix Jr. And unless you trade up in the second round to the first couple picks and take him in the second round, why not just go Michael Penix Jr. right here? I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, at the end, at the worst case, the worst thing that could happen is he's a complete bust, which, as we've seen him play and take Washington to the national championship, that's not going to happen. The odds of that happening are slim to none, and none just walked out the door. So I would like to see us go quarterback or maybe trade down in the first draft and maybe take him, with a later pick in the first round, maybe like around 25, 26, because he'll still be there. None of the teams after the top 5 need a quarterback. And that's for a reason. The top 5 teams are in the top 5 positions because they need a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to your point, sticking at 13 and taking Penix is probably the logical decision in our minds because number one, the tackle depth in this draft is so deep. This is one of the deepest tackle drafts in the last 20 to 25 years in the NFL. So you can get a guy who's a starter in the second and third round. You don't need to go and reach for a guy at number 13 when you can get him later in the draft. And, I've heard a lot of people say we can trade out of 13 and, draft him later in the first round or early second round. But I wouldn't want to take that risk because if you're set on Penix, you want to make sure that you can grab him at 13. If he's there, you just snag him. If you're convinced that he's the guy, there's no reason to dilly-dally around and, try to trade back and get the extra third, fourth round pick. That's not worth it. That's not worth the risk of losing out on a quarterback. And, to your point, Aiden O'Connell's good, but he's not going to be great in our eyes. And by riding with him and going 9-8 or 10-7, you're effectively in quarterback purgatory. But yeah, draft's only 10 days away by the time we post this video. So here on the Silver and Black Attack, we're going to have you covered all things draft, all things scenarios, rumors, mock drafts, whatever it is, we're going to have you covered. And like I said before, we really appreciate the support on our recent videos and continue liking, subscribing, sharing with your friends, and commenting down below. And yeah, we really appreciate it all on this channel. And Silver and Black Attack, Jahan and Rashawn, signing off. Thank you guys.